Thank you for coming out. I'm Village President Jeff Vanderstill. I'm very happy that you guys were able to come out. In passing things on through the neighborhood, in case anybody wasn't able to make it tonight, please keep on getting out. There will be another one of these next Wednesday for people that weren't able to make it tonight. I want to stress the fact that someone that cannot make it to both of them or doesn't want to come to either one of them, they can contact the village so that they can have a one-on-one meeting that can be arranged and different tours and stuff like that. We're going to have a presentation by Keller Associates. They're the company that has been helping us through for some time. This actually started with another company, and then we went with Keller because for certain reasons. This process has been ongoing for a very long time. After that presentation just going to go over kind of how did we get here, because there's a whole 3-year window of time we're dealing with, from it being requested by the people that work in the facilities all the way through the board talking about it and getting up to where we are at today. But if we could reserve, and I know it's always a real pull to be like, I want my question answered now. Everybody may have different questions. Some people may have questions about location. Some people may have questions or comments, you know, about something totally different, money, things like that. So if we could just go through the presentation, you can see all around the room, there are different things on the walls. If we could take those questions at the end, and I will, right in the back of the room, directly in the back, the gentleman with the very short hair standing right by the clock, that's Chief Misko. Obviously, you can see the other members of the police department that are here to answer questions on police, things like that. Tours will be available for police department. The other members, they all have tags on. The members of the fire department are here. Over there is Chief Jambritz. He has the green walkie-talkie, I'm going to call it, on his chest. That's fire. There's members of the village board over here. We do have name tags that kind of say what our role is. And then we also have members of the administration here. So just if you could hold questions till the end. I know there's sometimes a poll for that. But we want you to get any information that you need and that you want and things you want to talk about. You'll be able to go to the various people, get your questions answered, and ask them or let us know something else you want us to be looking into, any of that. So I hope this goes well, and if any of it doesn't go well, in the next half hour, come talk to me about it after, or come with your questions. Go ahead.
Process question, how much time have you allotted for the presentation?
Just for the presentation portion, it's going to be an overview, but it's going to be 20 to 30 minutes of presentation, but then there's going to be, I mean, I know we said 8:05 because we have to, or 8:15, because we have to have a kind of time limit. We want to make sure all of your questions get answered, so you'll be able to go to people after for further info or getting a question, or if you want information sent to you. Go ahead.
So there's not a group discussion at all on anything? Like we have to go to individual stations?
It's not an individual state. If we went, we didn't set it up that there would be a group discussion, and I can tell you why. We might have someone here again that wants to just talk, thinks that it's necessary to build, but they just want to talk about the money side of it, or that they think it should be smaller, or in a different location. And so while people are talking, it was not set up that there would be a whole group discussion. You mean like a town hall kind
We
of?
like it that way, because otherwise it's all hearsay. Now we hear it right from there, and we all hear the same questions, and we can say, that's a great question.
I'm more than happy to stand and have a group discussion with all of you. I want to give you the presentation first. Maybe we can find a place that we can, maybe I can take some of you, and any of the members of the board.
Bring those people up front and let everyone ask questions and let them answer them so we can all hear the answers.
Yeah.
I can turn around real nice and ask one of our great.
Okay, no, I'm
men
gonna get
do it
the,
right here.
I'm gonna get the two things, I'm gonna stress two things. Number one, we tried to make if that's the way you guys want it,
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it that way.
Sounds
That is
good.
not at all how they have this set up. I'm doing it because I want to have a listening session. I will say, and I'm not, this all is on me, it gets every time we are trying to do something, there's people that are sitting and saying it's not good enough. I just want to stress, we are trying to get all the information to you, and already we're 5 minutes in, and it's not good enough. We'll do what you're saying.
Great.
The fact that there's questions about hearsay, if we're that far down the road, it's going to be really rough going through just because there isn't backroom deals and hearsay. But if you want to do it that way so people can hear it, we absolutely will. We'll do it that way.
And the answers to the questions
Is there anybody here that would rather be able to ask questions one-on-one and take tours of the police department? You can't all go through the police department at one time. It's impossible.
No, that,
That's why we're building a new one, because only about 80
basically
fit
the
in.
question and the
Is there any, did everybody assume that this would be more like a town hall?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think
You
if
go-
it's all right to
do
go
your
through
thing.
mine, I can take, majority of the questions should come to me. I would at first, and then we'll dish them off if it's
Yep.
department specific.
That sounds good.
All right, my name's Devin, and I'm with Keller, working with the village on this. So I tried to condense, I could stand up here for 6 hours and get you every little bit of detail. However, I got 20 to 30 minutes of attention from everyone. The bigger part is going to be trying to listen, understand, ask questions. So if it is vague, that is why I'm trying to take all this information quickly. And I'm going to talk fast. So questions, if you can hold off, please. I'm going to try to get to everything that I think is pertinent. The other part, I get to do this all the time. I don't go to tons of board meetings. I would ask to be respectful, right? We're going to try to get to everyone, try to be respectful. If I don't have the answer, my counterpart architect is not here tonight. I will try to get you the answer. I don't know everything, and I know enough to admit that sometimes I don't know. So where does it start? Originally, this process started in 2022 to 2023. It was another architectural firm. They went through what is called a needs assessment. So looking at what the needs of the department are. Can everyone hear me in the back? Perfect. What the needs of both fire and police. Those are the two priorities. So those are from day one. Police department has a lot of inefficiencies within the building. Same thing with fire. Two buildings that are quite old and need to be evaluated from a building perspective, but then also what does the department need? How have the needs changed? Both buildings are fairly old. What do we got here? So the building we are in, the most recent addition was in the 1980s from my information. The building itself, or the original, is far older, and the fire is, the newest addition was in 1974. So I'm not gonna say old, but it is getting on the little lengthier side of a building. So then, for one reason or another, the other architectural firm was no longer here, so we got on board. We went through the same process. So where did they start and leave off? So they went through the needs assessment, put together some preliminary plans, got to a budget. So then we started the process in 2024. So pretty much right after, or a couple months after, we go through the same process. Needs assessment, trying to understand the square footage, talking about budgets, and now we've gone a little bit further. So what are those next steps? You go through the needs, you got to find out square footage, you find out we got all sorts of problems in the buildings, department. There needs to be some updates and some changes. With these buildings, we then begin developing solutions. I can assure you the first solution we create or think about is not the final solution, and you'll probably see that a couple times over. However, I want to get some info. So, fire department, the existing square footage, 8,900 square feet. Where their needs are as of today and into the future. So when we talk about building needs, it's nice to have a handful of years down the road. With municipal buildings, that's what I do. I specialize in public safety. You want a little bit of growth in there. You don't want to build a building and go, all right, now we're maxed out already. You can't build the Taj Mahal, right? I mean, that's just crazy, but you want maybe one office and a little bit extra room so that you can grow into it over the next 10, 15 years. Their current needs and into the future is 19,800 square feet. So they're going from, let's say, 9,000 to 19,000, 20,000. Police, current needs 8,500. I'm sorry, current building 8,500, future 22,000, roughly. So admin is in the mix. Why? A couple different reasons. So fire is going to be fire over there. However, once you have the police, adding onto this building is nearly impossible. We have not found a way. The site is small, parking constraints, a lot of different issues. You got a 100-year-old building. So now let's look at alternative solutions, police going elsewhere. Once police vacates this building, again, fire, police, those are the concerns. Once police vacates this building, what do we do with this building? So rec is in this area, however, admin is the other item. What does it cost to remodel? Why don't we just have admin here? Why don't we just keep this building? The main driver that we ran into is cost to remodel, cost to maintain, and then longevity. I always say when you remodel a building, you're marrying the building forever. So is this the right building to marry forever? I would make the argument it is not. There are a lot of concerns. I mean, it's not tipping over, but if you're going to have a remodel, we're going to be looking 50 plus years down the road. Is this the right building? So remodeling costs within this building, looking at a total, essentially a total remodel, you're talking 6 to 9 million. So when we talk about those costs, that's a huge, huge undertaking. So that is the driver of why we thought, well, should admin vacate this and then this property to be determined? I don't have that answer here. I know there's been some ideas thrown around. Fire station property. So that is, and I'll run through, I should have started with an agenda. So I will run through a handful of different properties that we evaluated. Let's jump over to the fire station. It's in a floodplain. There is a lack of actual property size. There's some challenges within the floodplain parking. So with a fire department, you need a lot of asphalt for all the apparatus to turn. It's a very challenging site. So we evaluated a couple different solutions over on that property itself. However, fitting fire on there is all about you're going to get, about all you're going to get down the road. So can we put a little addition on 50 years down the road? Sure. But having multiple departments within that property, very, very challenging. So I will start going through the different sites. Now, kind of brush, I summarized quite a bit here, but this is the part where we're looking at solutions. The other firm went through the needs, we went through the needs, and now we're looking at solutions, which is the main driver of why we're all here. Why did we do what we did? What are we thinking? What are the next steps? So this, I got multiple slides. So this is the original site that we started evaluating for police and admin. I'm not justifying it, but I want everyone to know why we were thinking it. The property is already owned by the village. One of the biggest concerns, I'm a project manager, I got an architect with me usually. When we're talking about buildings, I'm always thinking about costs. So the village board has been very, 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 very diligent with making sure that we're not overspending, that we're staying within means. There's no frills, no bells and whistles. So looking at properties the village owns is priority number one. If you already own the land, can we be saving money? So that is a huge, huge advantage when we talked about this. Not saying this is the one, we're going to get to multiple other slides, but this is the original property, trying to squeeze everything on site. So when we talk about properties, did we just pick one? No. We looked at Cottonwood Wayside, we looked at the existing Cottonwood parcel, we looked at Herb Smith, Heritage, Zion Church. So we looked at this property for a while. We designed, for instance, we designed this with 3 completely different designs. We looked at Zion Church, we looked at Zion School, we looked at Hartbrook Park, we looked at Heritage Green Space, we looked at the existing Public Works parcel, we looked at the existing fire station site, we tried to squeeze multiple departments on that. Then we started looking at Centennial. So when we were looking at this property, there's 2 things that continuously got brought up. Number one, yes. We looked at 2 things when we looked at this. the village already owns it. However, we need to reinvest or do something because we're taking away a ball field. So that was a big, big concern. So we looked at multiple ideas over at Centennial. So I've been a part of one of these before. It's not fun. It was very, very challenging. However, the idea, and this is the trajectory of a lot of parks in different communities, is going from smaller, maybe one ball diamonds to more of larger complexes where you can have tournaments, things like that. So that was our thought process. So we had multiple different designs fitting another ball field over at Centennial. It's got a parking lot, playground, football field, lacrosse, kind of a multi-use. We got the river over there, restrooms, pavilion. There's no concessions. So when we were thinking about it, could we upgrade it to that? And obviously the other part, having tournaments. So I know this is a very, very tough sticking point, and I wanted to give some context as far as what made us think of what we did. We didn't just pick one site and go, all right, let's just go forward. We did a tremendous amount of due diligence. I mean, I'm showing you a fraction of the amount of designs that we tried to put everywhere. From staff, from our part, willing to look as many sites as possible, but I want everyone to know that we looked extremely hard to evaluate everything. Now that brings us here. So this was a site that was not, it was briefly reviewed, but it was not for sale, so it wasn't an option that we originally had. I mean, we briefly talked about it, I think it was last year. However, after some of the village board discussions, we are evaluating this with, I would argue, based on what I'm being told, a lot of seriousness and seeing if...
Where is this?
Yep, sorry. This is bowling alley. Thank you.
And the bank already said they agreed to eminent domain, so.
So we are moving forward in a positive direction. So the next thing is, does it fit? Drum roll, it does. So we're looking at fitting police and admin over on this site. That would leave Hartbrook Park completely out of it, and this would be our main focus. However, I just want everyone to be aware, we're still looking at a redevelopment site at Fire. So fitting all three of them over on that site is nearly impossible. I don't even know if it is possible. And then from a response time, this is a great location. So we're still going to look at fire and EMS. And at this point, this is the site for police and admin. Do I have anything else?
Is there anything in the industrial part?
Or
Any of this?
so these are the main things. I was quicker than I thought. So again, I don't want to sit here and lecture and just give you tons of information. I don't know everything. So if there's ideas, if there's suggestions, I have been wrong before. So we have gotten ideas from people. It takes a village, truly. I mean, I do municipal projects, that's all I do. None of them are easy. So if you got any communities that have a blank checkbook, let me know. But none of these projects are simple and easy. And really communication comes down to it. So my goal tonight was to allow everyone to talk, try to get educated about some of this stuff, and really move forward in a positive direction. So, anyone want to start raising hands? Yes.
Someone said there's property in the industrial park.
Yeah.
This is an opinion from myself. The village is very long when you go north to south. It's not as wide when you go east to west. In my opinion, and it's something that I pushed for as we were going through this process, to have something that far south when you have to get all the way to homes that are on the other side of K, I don't think that that's the best for the village to have. Our police department, hundreds of yards from our most southern border, and have to drive all the way across when calls come in. That's my personal opinion. But that's why we didn't look at property that might be for sale in the industrial park. We did look at a property that was very near, or you could consider almost in the industrial park on Cottonwood, right next to the chimney. That was one of the sites that we looked at, that the village owns.
Yep, I think one other point we brought up too, is a big concern is you got the railroad tracks, so if you need to get across the tracks and the train's coming, how long does that delay? Excuse me, delay. It goes two ways. More people this way though than there are that.
Oh, people on the south side of the track and look out?
Not to say that, I'm just saying you got the railroad tracks taking consideration.
So I'm going to jump in here. It's important. Everyone came here to get educated, to talk. Being respectful needs to be a priority. I mean, we're going to be here for a while. To make sure everyone's questions get asked, but let's work together. Yes.
Okay, I just want to address the railroad tracks. I live by the railroad tracks. And enough times the cops have been stopped at the railroad tracks for the train, losing their perk because of the train, okay? And then not that you guys sit there with your sirens on, because you don't. But if there's an emergency, which is, or, you know, you need to get there. And I'm sorry, but I think you need to have a way over the tracks, okay? A bridge or a tunnel or something. Tunnels today don't sound real good because of the rain. But you need to get over the tracks. Those guys need to get over the tracks, okay? They and the firemen need to get over the tracks, both ways, either way, okay? It's just, you guys have lost people because they drove off, because they got over the tracks and they didn't.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you put the other, the picture of the fire
Yep.
thing that you wanted? All right. I don't know how big that is, but if you would go back to the other one now, 19,000 square feet. Is there some kind of regulation that you can't go any closer to the property line than what you are? Because this is the, what was it?
It's Beeble's True Value.
Thank you. The bowling alley. Okay, so if you push this back a little bit, I see there's parking there, but if you push this back a little bit, you can put the fire here. It'd be really close to the street, but you don't need to get, you need to get the fire trucks out on the street.
Right.
And not have to shovel the driveway or something, you know what I mean? Okay, and get them out. You could use the whole property.
Where are they gonna park?
Don't make it.
I think it's a good idea. This is taking the Hartbrook Park building. This is all within a very short period of time that we started evaluating this. So unfortunately, our drafting has had days to just throw this together. This isn't the finalized version, so if we can,
Perhaps the property could get a little bit bigger.
if we can use it better, I think that's still,
But you guys need a way over those tracks. So what you have right now is really inefficient and it doesn't matter where they are.
I just wanted to touch it, and I wanted to answer the question regarding the tracks. So with the bridge being over 83, which is the only way over the tracks, that is something that was taken into consideration in all of this. Now, staying where they are, it doesn't get them over the tracks any faster. If PD doesn't always, and you're going to end up hearing about this. PD it's a moving organism because they don't just sit at the station and wait for a call. No, I'm just letting you know. But if they are leaving from the station and they know there's a train, it does cut down on their time as opposed to leaving from this site and having to go and try to get on the bridge.
There's a train before they get up close enough to the tracks to see.
They don't always know. I'm saying if they do know, then it cuts down on the time because they're shooting right onto Highway 16, they're up one exit and they're over and they're onto the other side.
And if they're going south, if you go up to 16 and come over down 83, that's, you're losing time there.
What is the alternative if the train is going across the tracks?
It's called a bridge.
We have not looked at the
so
engineering on
I
that.
think that's a logistics. I got it written down here, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, but I want to make sure everyone else's questions get asked. Yes. No, I got it written down here. Yes.
You didn't say anything about Hartford Park being in the, part of it's in a floodplain.
Yep.
You've driven by there Sunday. See, that's not a very good location for buildings. That's the reason it's parked, so you don't have buildings on there. So if floods occur, there's minimal damage, property damage, anything. So I can't believe you even considered that site on that reason alone.
Appreciate the feedback.
And you also mentioned too that the fire department now is on a floodplain, complicated to expand. So why is this one so much less complicated at Hartland than it would be at the fire department?
Do you want me to dig into the details and spend a half hour explaining the flood zones, the parameters, and the code?
No, but you can tell me that they're both very complicated, yes or no?
I don't think Heartbrook Park is a very super easy, simple site to build on. However, in order to get a property to work on a site, we evaluated umpteen different sites. So I appreciate the feedback, but if the criticism is just saying that we don't do a good enough job, I don't know that I appreciate it.
Not a criticism at all.
It's very much-
You're lightning on the flood plain. That's why I want to know, when you were mentioning that it's complicated to do the fire spot, or the fire station, this is also complicated because that's also a flood.
In the,
All right,
in the
no,
defense of the
let's dig
gentleman that's
into it.
presenting, I just want to touch on something because I don't necessarily want you to have to spend a half hour.
No,
in the
let's
weeds.
dig into it. So,
No,
to clarify myself,
Hold on, I
There's a
just wanted
river
to answer
here.
something. Hold on.
flood zones extend beyond the body of water. So the limitation is only the areas that it does not extend to. Does that make sense? So in order to fit the building on the site, we had to work around the flood zone. So that was one of the challenges on this site and then also on the fire site because again, you have that flood zone. So is it possible? Yes. Is it challenging? Yes. Is it the ideal pristine site for either? To be determined, right? So fire works very well from a response time. Heartbrook Park, it was an owned site that we were able to fit this building on after coming up with no's regularly. However, it's been very much indicated that we're going to this site.
I have a follow-up,
Yes.
very direct follow-up to this. When you did the assessment, did you calculate the impact of the greenway on the floodway? The impervious cover that you will add with the building, parking lot, extensive construction will affect your greenway. This is where you're wanting to put it, in the greenway, will affect your floodway. And I looked online and I tried to see where that assessment was, and I couldn't find it. So did you all do that?
For which site? Not yet.
I think it is important to,
So,
well, we've been doing this for 2 years. The purpose of this is exactly why you're here, for public input, public questions, public comment. Because we know no matter what site, anywhere in the Village of Hartland, someone is not going to be happy with it. But how do we be as cost efficient and as effective with whatever site? And you may be surprised, it is very limited on what we can put a building this size on different sites throughout the Village of Hartland. Now, our leadership has been in talks with Waukesha State Bank. That looks like that's a very positive site. So we're very thankful that that may be moving forward, but nothing that here has been approved on any of these walls. We've been studying and looking, and then all of a sudden this property goes for sale. We run over there and we do a bunch of work over there, and then they say, you know what, it's not for sale anymore. And we do all this kind of stuff. Where we are just, I know I heard the comment, it's been 2 years and now you're just letting us know. We have to have something to present you though, to like say, this is what sizes we're looking for, going from this to this. And with all those square footages, that's garage space, that's office space, that's all our space that we utilize, and we're very compact. We have a lot of upcoming maintenance in this 100-year-old plus part of the building to the tune of about $4 million when you start looking at roofing, windows, HVAC utilities, things of that nature. So I got to the Village of Hartland. I guess I should introduce myself since I interjected myself here. But my name's Tor Misko. I serve as your chief of police here in the Village of Hartland. I got here 7 years ago, and this was being talked about by then Fire Chief Dave Dean, who Chief Jamritz has now replaced. And those were pinch points 7 years ago. We started talking about it, kind of fell off to the side because of other priorities. And then with these maintenance items coming up, we said, hey, do we want to stick all this good money into a building that doesn't really serve the community's needs? And then we're probably going to chase our tail on, and we're severely undersized on to begin with. So this thing started getting more steam in 2022, where we did a project with another architectural firm, Zimmerman was the name of the firm. They provided us with some ideas, and now Keller's taken that ball and really run with it to try to get us to say, community, here's some options, let's hear some input. Now, I think a lot of people were under the understanding like this was a stamp, we're moving to Hartbrook Park. I don't care what anyone says, that has never been the premise here. These are now getting to the point of, we got something to show you, come take a look, let's get input and see how we do move forward as a community together.
And Chief, I just want to, for all of you, I want to follow up on what you're saying. And Keller has done a fantastic job. I think I'm safe to say, I mean, they do this all the time, they're experts. When we're choosing sites, I mean, some of this obviously is us elected officials that are on the board as we're talking, saying, what about this site, what about this site? There's times where we went to Keller, I just want in defense of them, and in defense of Devin, where we went and said, can you make this work, what about this site? And all he can do is come and say, this is what we could do here. You know, even if it was a very small site and he comes back and says, it's gotta be 6 stories. There wasn't one like that. I'm just saying, they'll come back and tell us what they can do. And then we sit there and then we debate over those things and going that way. When it comes down to the environmental studies and some of these things that are coming up, if we have this many sites going on, and because I really like your money to stay in your pocket, until we know where we're putting it, we're not gonna go and do an environmental study. Are we gonna do a building without an environmental study? No. Are we gonna build a building in a floodplain that, whether it's the DNR or any proper building code would say, that's dumb, that's stupid to build in that floodplain, or even like you talk about, impervious surfaces. Are we gonna have it where all the water may be running off to somebody? We would not do that. We wouldn't allow another builder to come into Hartland and do that. But we also are not gonna do all of those borings, all of those studies, and all the environmental impacts because we aren't that far in the process. We have ideas, and then it's coming out to the public. When we know for sure a site we're going to, you bet, we're gonna be doing an environmental study. We're gonna be doing borings. We're gonna
That's
be
when we
checking
start
things.
spending money though, so we wanna make sure that's.
Because we know that's where we're gonna go, but I think it'd be wrong for myself and the other members of the board if we voted and said, yeah, let's do an environmental study on all of them, because if all of a sudden the environmental study comes back and it's a really bad place to build, you gotta switch gears and you gotta go somewhere else or something like that.
Because the safety of the children that use that street, or back and forth to school, was that bother you? They're gonna have to go back and forth there, and the people from Arrowhead, they use that as well.
So I'm gonna go back to a couple of things with that comment. Obviously, we all have concerns with driving with children around, but however, the fire department is in the backyard of a school. When the village president touched on police response, we do have a police department and we do have police reports, and I've seen like those reports get more extensive as the years go by and we spend more time writing those things. But we do spend a lot of our time in the community patrolling. So when we get dispatch calling us on the radio, we're not just leaving from the police department. I could be at the school and responding from the school. So does that concern me? There's gotta be something where we train our people how to drive appropriately, use due regard, and we gotta operate effectively. So we can say that anywhere. With that, I shouldn't ever drive in a school zone, you know what I mean? But I have to be around the community.
So that, if I may ask something, when a question is asked, if it could be repeated back so that the people in the back of the room can hear, we don't have microphones. It was difficult to hear that question, so if there's a question asked, just kind of repeat it back and then everybody can hear what that.
But absolutely, we want our children to stay safe, and that's, anywhere we put the police department or fire department, those are gonna be concerns.
Well, entrance and exits on the fire department is right across the street from the village. And on the other end is a apartment complex, and so the entrance and exit does not lead to the school grounds directly.
Actually, it does. The back entrance of the fire department goes right into our school.
But where I see them coming in
We-
and out of the
we-
village, out of the.
We have a lot of questions though, but I think we answered to the best of our ability. I'll let the village president.
Sure, I just got over here had a question. That was up for a while.
Looking at a bigger picture, and, you know, where you guys are, a great conversation, maybe with the fire department here. The bigger picture is maybe a little out of the box thinking. That property is almost surrounded by parking space. And yes, they are for Beagle's Hardware, for the strip mall where the custard and food places. There's that whole Hartwood Drive is parking space. You know,
The
they-
gentleman's question, and what he's saying is there's parking all around that site, and I believe you're talking about Waukesha State Bank site, the old bowling alley. There's parking all around there is what he's saying
Right,
right now.
and maybe with some out-of-the-box, you know, creative thinking, we could better utilize some of that parking space for the village and maybe some agreements with those businesses, because that's gonna bring business to them, right? And that's a win-win for them. And a question I had is, Rob, is there an objection against keeping this building as part of the Hartland? I think everyone's in agreement, we need more police and fire space. I don't think that's an issue, right? There's no issue with that. But using this building for other things in the community, not tearing it down, selling it off, is kind of, I think, important to the community.
I knew that would come up, I believe the board knew that would come up. Again, this is only me giving my opinion, I'm fully understanding that I'm supposed to be a representative of the people that was elected. Other members of the board, we were all elected, we take that very seriously. For the amount of money that it's gonna cost to make this building stand, and considering it's 100-year-old car dealership, I understand it would be amazing if we had a building that was really sound, that we were going to take and make a historical building. I don't think this is it, that's my opinion. It doesn't mean it couldn't be done, but the cost is much higher than I think what we're gonna get back for it, and the continual maintenance of the building.
With that being the case, what are you gonna do with it?
That's all part of the process and part of listening.
Great question.
Okay.
Yep, it's a very good question.
Are we just, can I ask, are we just supposed to blurt out questions, or are you gonna point people?
I was going to point people, but some are blurting and some are raising hands. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
I have three. So one question is all the demographics and the stuff that Keller's shown, it seems like it's only one story, is that correct? And I guess my question is, why only one story? If we're looking at going forward, isn't the only way to go, like, I hate to say it, but if you looked around, there's no more land. There's only to go up. So encroaching any of the green space that we have, like, I mean, was that considered? Or is
either
there
one of you wanna
other
touch on
money
that?
with Like,
Going up comes with a cost. So once you add multiple stories, it is more expensive. When you look at public safety, all your fire trucks got to be on the first floor. All the police cars got to be on the first floor.
I think I was talking admin stuff. So
Oh,
just
I'm sorry.
asking for information.
I didn't.
My other second part was, I'm sure like everybody else is, where's the money coming from? Is this like, so we're taking out a $28 million loan?
That's what it would be.
Or is it going on a ballot and it's getting voted for? Or
It would-
is this in a budget?
It would be on a $28 million loan, so to speak,
Okay.
or bonds.
And how does that affect us as homeowners and taxpayers?
I think we're at $1.10 per $1,000 worth of value.
For how long?
20 years. Okay. On a 300? The question was, how much is it going to cost? Now, the number I'm giving you, that 28 million, doesn't include debt service, which is basically the interest you pay on borrowing money. It would go up, how much, Ryan? Really loud.
$1.10 per thousand assessed value, so $350,000 house would be about $385
A year, an additional amount per year. 20 years.
20 years.
That's including the interest.
Was Cassandra's, that property at Cassandra's, the old dealership, old Brookside?
Yep.
Was that looked at?
It's not in Hartland.
Oh, that's not her?
No. Sir?
I have a question that was brought up about the railroad tracks.
Next.
The police, granted, they're not right here, they're everywhere. But the
Can we
fire
have one
department,
conversation here so the rest of us can hear it?
the fire department and emergency services are still located north of the tracks. There's been a lot of development south of the tracks in the last 20, 30 years. Has there been any consideration to maybe splitting some of the emergency services?
That's not something, I haven't. I don't think it's something that we've necessarily, I mean, maybe in passing we've talked about, but it hasn't been talked about just in taking care of just Hartland proper to split
And I know
them.
too that the train service over the years going through has almost doubled, and the length of those trains has doubled.
26 a day, yep.
You know, there was a survey done on that about response time.
The
Where do I
question,
find
just,
those
and I'm
details?
sorry for interrupting. The question, in case anyone didn't hear it, was, has there been any thought of splitting the service onto both sides of the tracks, where you'd have some police and some fire on south of the tracks, some police and some fire north of the tracks? That was the question. And my answer was that I had not, brought that to the board or considered it for Hartland proper at this time. And you can continue.
There was a survey done about response times. Where do I find those results?
You would have to get that from PD and fire
I'm not
department.
familiar with what you're referencing, but we can touch base offline.
The question was asking if there's a survey for response times, and I told him that he should ask fire department and PD for those.
Devin, with that question on response time, and I think it's important that everybody understand the success that we are currently having with response time, and ask Chief if you could talk to that with
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. So I'm Chief Jambers, Hartland Fire Chief. This is my Division Chief, Candle Sharp. So as far as response times go, we have 2 full-time personnel, firefighter paramedics on duty every day. We supplement that with part-time personnel. Up to 4 we can house at the station at this time. That includes the 2 full-timers and the 2 part-timers. Our general response time anywhere in the village is under 4 minutes. We're out the door in under a minute and on the way. So have there been times where we've waited in traffic? Yes, for the trains. Most of the time we send a chase vehicle out, so either a small fire truck or one of our command vehicles goes first. If we notice a train, we're calling back to the crews and telling them so that they can go around. They'll go up to 83 and come down 83 and around. Obviously now that's a little bit of a tough thing, but normally we get somebody there within a few minutes.
Police department's doing that same thing.
They definitely are.
As we're responding, if we get a train and we're stopped, we'll be radioing dispatch, so fire response also knows that.
Yeah, we monitor both fire and police dispatch so we can hear when they're telling us there's a train, so we can adjust our routes to get there.
It's important in community, and I want to say something, and it's about these gentlemen and the organizations they run and the people in them. And I'll say it real quick. When there was that major house fire that ended up being a homicide, and there was an explosion, and there was people that were trapped up on top in that apartment building on the south side of the tracks from where these buildings are. Now, no, there was not a train at that time, but the amount of stuff that people will go through to go and save lives and what they do every single day should be commended. There was police cars that were pulled up to the building, getting people off of balconies to jump onto the car and get off. There's not a policy for that. In fact, it's probably against policy. But they used their minds to do what was right. While they were doing that, Chief was already on the scene, making sure to look at the building so that when the firefighters were coming in, everybody was going to be safe, because you had a building that had a wall blown out that could collapse at any time, and they did not hesitate to go in. I just want to say there are things sometimes that people deal with and they make happen. With what we have, they will always do everything they can, including if they can move trains, they will. We have a question here.
Let me get to the basics on that map again. I have no clue where the bowling alley is, I don't know. Is that exactly up against the property by Beebles?
Yes, that's the property that's right next to Beebles, and then if you go farther to the west, that would be Pat Walker's property, the strip mall, which has Sweet Dreams and stuff like that. I want to reiterate what Devin said. It was less than 2 weeks ago that they got a call on the phone saying, is it possible at this site, the vacant site right now at Hartbrook Park? If I'm not mistaken, they kind of just took and did an overlay to see if it would work. What you're seeing is not necessarily the building that you would get, and we're not deciding on what that would look like. That's further down the line. Devin, please correct me if I'm wrong. They were just figuring out if it would fit, because what's the point of pursuing if it's not possible?
Correct. I mean, through the process, we've probably drawn at least 20 different site plans. So the main focus is, does it work? Can we make this work? Not is it the right solution or the best solution, does it work? And if it does work, that's when we begin having these conversations. Now again, you had that other architectural firm, we're here, and we're to the point of having solutions to bring to the community. Now we can have these conversations.
What's the square foot of that building?
That's not going to be the building necessarily.
36,000.
36,000.
So that's the community room like you're in now, a version of that. The village hall with a boardroom and then the police department with a garage. That's all included in that square foot.
Sir, you had a question in the blue shirt?
From what I've seen of the presentations, they all assume that the admin and the fire are together.
No, police and admin together. Yep. Some of that is dual use based on reports and stuff like that, also ticket collection and money. It doesn't have to be like that. We feel it's best. That's where we've landed. That doesn't mean it has to be that way, but that's, go ahead, Chief.
One thing that came up with that Devin touched on is we're the largest tenant in this current building. So when your largest tenant moves out, and now you still gotta maintain this building where we have upcoming expensive maintenance to do, did it make sense to leave Village Hall here and now basically everything above you is gonna be sitting vacant just to be maintained? Or do you bring that smaller footprint of the boardroom and the Village Hall over to the police department? So those are all things we're trying to figure out. What is the most cost-effective way to do that? Because again, whether we move out and you keep this building, this was a study done 2 years ago. They were saying you got about $4 million in upcoming maintenance that we're gonna have to start tackling.
I just want to catch this one.
Not deferred maintenance, but.
The one in the yellow shirt, you had a question. I know you've been waiting patiently. Thank you.
I wanted to know if it was possible to separate the village hall and the police, if that could be done, because then the village could keep this, we could have more community stuff going on here if they fixed it. And if this has been in the works for 3 years, have we stopped all maintenance on this building and now it's, you know, crazy expensive?
No, when there's no air conditioning in the police department, I personally would not be to vote for that. We just had the $7,000 on the vouchers because we had to replace it, which is exactly why we're doing what we're doing, because in Hartland we try to save money and we're pushing it off, but we had to replace it.
Do we have a plan for what you are gonna do with this building? Because
We don't have a plan. Right now we don't. My guess is it's just gonna be, it will be gone.
Well, actually, you know, there's a spot of land. If you go to the next photo of the fire department,
This one?
that whole space back up there is all woods. And now the playground has been moved to the other side of North. So that is a huge plot of land right there. And the baseball diamond wouldn't be affected because it's north of, or it's east of that.
This is Lawn Street.
Oh, right, the fire department, if you look up by the,
Right by the river?
no, by the highway, where the highway goes through.
You're talking about the sidewalk right over the freeway?
Right.
Oh, that's their property. Schools. School owns that property. No, a village government is completely separate than a government entity, which is a school. Two completely different governments. Sir?
I just have some observations. My name's Howard Callio. I live at 985 Ray.
Thank you.
Which is right on the back of Centennial Park. And I've been there since 1993. I built that house. And I think as part of the Hartman agreement, when that whole subdivision was developed, those green spaces were a part of that. The park and Hartbrook Park, Centennial and Hartbrook, because that wasn't there when I built. My observation now is that our community is starting to turn over. We're getting a lot more young people. My neighborhood in particular has had 5, 6, 7 young families with young children. The green spaces at Hartbrook Park and at Centennial Park are not underutilized at all. They are heavily utilized all summer long, both by athletic teams, but as well as by young families using the park, the playgrounds, and so forth. The walkers, the bikers, all of those things. The eyesore of the bowling alley has been there for about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
We've asked ourselves over and over again, what's happening with that? It is an eyesore.
Yeah, I just touched on that earlier
Yeah.
when I said that we got together and talked with them.
That site would seem, at least from our opinion, to make a lot more sense than taking away green space from our young families.
Sure. What the gentleman said is he thinks that the Ray Drive, of the houses that were built on Ray Drive, he believes that those two parks that kind of bookend Ray Drive were built as part of that, and that there may be an agreement that those parks are there simply for that Ray Drive. We would have to look into that. I'm not aware of that. And then he said he thinks we should look into the old bowling alley site. Has anyone, who has not spoken yet that wants to ask a question, if you could raise your hand? Go ahead.
Have you considered Pembroke Park access through Maple Avenue at all? It's a large property of woods. I know there's wetlands on both sides, but there's two paths that go through there. It's high, plenty of room. I don't see why you can't keep the administration here and just build a police department. Plenty of room right there.
I didn't,
And I am in agreement with you that 90% of the houses, 90% of the businesses, 90% of the activities should be, as far as I'm concerned, within the distance, within a mile and a half of the police department or the fire department. You put it on the north side, you're eliminating the south side. Okay, you put it on the north side of 16. You got 3 miles, 4 miles to the south.
Yeah, we're 5.5
The-
square miles.
the gentleman's question was, why have we looked at putting it at Pembroke Park? Because it's high enough and there's enough space there. No, we didn't. To answer your question, we did not.
Across the street from there is that little parking area, which is a path to.
Across the street from Pembroke Park, I don't think would be anywhere close, and it may even be under reserve. I believe River Reserve owns that. That's the, and I believe that River Reserve and the marsh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Ice Age owns that. I just want to hit on people that haven't spoke yet. I'll come back to you.
How many police departments do we have in Waukesha County?
I did not look into that. I would have to get that information. If we could look into that at some point. There's 37 municipalities within Waukesha County.
Probably like 30-ish.
We could, you mean like have the sheriff cover us? Yeah, we could have the sheriff cover us, sure. I'm not saying that I'm for that. As an elected representative, I wouldn't be the guy to vote for, but yes, it is possible.
I work for the sheriff's department. I served as the undersheriff of the sheriff's department before I came to Hartland. If you go to the sheriff's department, you still need a building for them to work out of, so still got to solve that problem.
Who has not, in the blue?
So this is logistically speaking, what is the timeline that we're looking at as a goal?
I think we're hoping to have, within the next 6 months or 8 months to be kind of set.
Yeah, I would hope that, by the end of the year, we have a solid solution that, makes sense, and then we'd be potentially building next year.
The question was timeline, and the answer was within the next 6 months or so, or by the end of the year, we'd like to kind of know where we're going to be, and then possibly be breaking ground like next spring.
Next spring, okay, and so then the funding timeline for us as taxpayers would then be instituted next year?
That would be over 20 years. Has anybody not spoken yet that wants to, go ahead.
I agree with the lady in the yellow blouse. I think we need a new fire, new police, and leave this building as is. Have rec classes and other things that they can utilize this for. And if there's maintenance, there's maintenance. In any old building, any home, we can all say we had to get roofs and siding and flooded basements and everything like that, we have to deal with.
Sure.
So, a little $4 million is a lot less than $28 million, and I'm not saying if we cut it down to $24 million, which is still a lot of money. But I'd rather give it to the police who really need it, and the fire. My husband's a retired firefighter from a different municipality. They had 3 fire stations, and they were always manned. The fire department here saved my life 7 years ago. Thank God for them, because my heart stopped. Thank God for them. So if they need it, I'd rather give it to them and the police, and let admin stay here.
Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the $4 million you're talking about here, the police station itself is 9 to 14 million with us. So you take
17 to 20.
17 to 20. And what do you think the admin piece of that is? 4 million?
If that,
So we
yeah.
can keep the current space, and you're gonna have to do 4 million in upgrades. Or you move this whole facility. This could be green space, who knows what it's gonna be.
Well, even new buildings need maintenance.
Everything needs maintenance.
Everything needs maintenance.
The building doesn't need
The question, I just want to make sure that everybody hears that what they're saying is that it's about $4 million in upgrades to keep this building. And it's $4 million as an addition just if admin moves with the police station. It's not like, okay, if admin doesn't go with police, then it just cuts the price in half. That's not how it is, because admin isn't, it's just not as big. It's not as much space.
Footage here, like that
Go
was
ahead.
brought up.
We'll get that for you right now. I'm gonna get to you right.
Police and admin and 36,000.
No, for this unit.
Oh, this?
I meant this building because before you guys said current standings, the police department is 85,000 square foot.
8,500.
100, I'm sorry, I said 8,500. Fire department is 8,900, but there was no admin ever stated. So you're talking this new building is 36,000. Like, that's like, seems just
A lot of
really
that
big.
parking, 4 police parking spots now will have 12.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is.
Admin's gonna be the same exact size over there, no different, it's the same size. The rec room is gonna be more open, so you can actually function, because this, as you can see, is a little people dancing in here. It's the same size. Police is the only one truly growing the footprint. We have interior plans that we're all working on and tweaking. Admin is not a Taj Mahal, it's the same square footage. I have a 192 square foot office now, and it's gonna be 190. That's what it is. We're keeping everything the same, just moving.
There was someone in back that had a question, ma'am.
I wanted to know what the breakdown was of all of the costs that you're saying have to go into this building, because I know it's in the report.
I don't know if I'd be able to read those right now, but you'll be able to get them unless Devin, if you wanted to go through it.
Yeah, they're all in a report that we can get them.
I don't know all those numbers item by item. You're right, it's in the report, I'm just saying I don't have to read it to you right now. I apologize.
The community center that we're working on the draft plans is a open room. It's not too much bigger than this, but as you can see, this is real compartmentalized. And for elections, we can't be here, as you know, for the large elections. At any time, St. Charles could say, we're not gonna have you here anymore, for safety reasons. They have a school. It's happened in Waukesha where they were no longer welcome. This would be one open space, we'd be able to divide it for classes, but have it open for large elections. So that is one advantage also of having, the rec community room in the, new format.
And
Would there be any problem with using the school for elections?
Schools do not want us for elections.
just to touch on, because I know there's been some comments, and I'm not being facetious, I'm saying there's been some comments I've seen online, and I'm saying this on behalf of the board members also, which are not idiots. But some people have said, what idiot would ever think of putting that at Hartbrook Park? I hear people now, and this is where it gets tough when it's little like petri dishes of information. People are talking about rec department. One of the thoughts of being at Hartbrook Park was right now when that summer camp, which is run through the rec, is going on, they got to figure out what to do with those kids when there's inclement weather. Where in that case, it would not have been that case because they would have been able to do that at the park. I'm not saying that that's the right thing. I'm simply saying that was one of the things that went into a plus of having it there. Anybody that has not spoken that wants to ask a question? You have not spoken? Go ahead.
I just want to make an observation. Now, you say you've been working on this for 2 to 3 years, right? Did you realize in 2019, or the board, that Hartbrook Park was put in a comprehensive plan in 2019?
I was, because I did it.
Okay.
And I instituted it because it hadn't been done, and it was always in the comprehensive plan.
And it takes statutes to get it changed.
Absolutely it does. You have to have a public hearing. You have to change the CIP, which is the comprehensive plan, and you have to have it passed on a meeting, and you have to go through those processes.
Has any state or federal money been used in
No,
the
no, no,
So
no.
like Quick Trip, we had to rezone that, we had to do a comp plan amendment, the quarry, that was a quarry. In order to do that, you have to go through inner comp plan, it said it was a quarry.
Okay, now,
Can I just touch on something real quick for you, sir? Because I do want you to know this also. If there was something that prohibited us from building because of federal grant money or state grant money, This isn't the Jeff show, and it's not just Jeff and the members of the village board show that just go and run and do what we want. We wouldn't do it. We just plain and simple wouldn't do it. I know there's someone that put that information out claiming that they were very involved in that comp plan. They weren't. They got elected that spring, and that whole comp plan redo was being worked on since the year before in 2018 because I wanted it to be done, and the board wanted it to be done, and the plan commission wanted it to be done. So we completely revamped it so the comp plan actually showed what the future of Hartland looked like. At that time, we weren't looking at putting a building in. You are right. There's certain legal processes that have to be gone through. You can't just build the building. That would take steps.
You realize if you tried to put a ball field, another ball field in Centennial Park, have you ever been by Hartbrook Park during a ball game?
I've driven by it.
Okay.
Sure.
The parking is blocks up and down the road. In the middle of where Ray Drive and Greenway Terrace meet, there's a maintenance road. So people are gonna go in there. So what's that's gonna do is move all that traffic back around that corner. And then when we start complaining, what are you gonna do? Hang no parking signs?
Well, hold on. You're gonna start complaining about parking? Is it no parking right now?
No.
Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but when you get those ball games and people are gonna go through that back maintenance entrance before when that block fills up off of K. So they're gonna move, all that traffic is gonna move north to that, where Ray Drive and, Greenway Terrace.
You mean south, like if it's at Centennial on the Ray Drive?
I got just two things.
Thank you.
I think you guys have heard, the new focus is Waukesha State Bank parcel. That is the intent. We're going through the eminent domain process. That can take up to 6 months. It can. We're hoping for shorter. The comp plan, that email that went out, we're legally required to update that every 10 years. It's not like it was some historical comp plan that was made. Every 10 years, we update that comp and park plan. So it's always been a park. So like I said, where Quick Trip is now, that was state-owned land. So when they bought it, it was zoned nothing. We had to do a comprehensive plan amendment to make it something so they could build. Your house at one time was probably agriculture, if you're on Ray. Cornfield.
Agricultural.
You couldn't build there. They had to amend the comprehensive plan so that that subdivision could get built.
And the reason we didn't do that is because these weren't foregone conclusions that have been approved yet. We haven't done the process yet. So that's kind of almost putting the cart before the horse.
Just curious. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Wow, there's a lot to respond to. I think part of the issue about the plan is that, the location at Hartbrook Park doesn't really seem to be in the spirit of the plan. So I think that's kind of a problem. I have another question. Did y'all do a calculation on the demolition of this building? Did you have a number for that?
I don't.
Off the top of my head, I
We
don't.
don't even know if we demo it though. There's
Yeah.
so many different options.
I didn't know if, thinking about building here, whether or not you did that, but thinking about its future use and thinking about Waukesha State Bank, in some other places, people do propose exchanges of property. I don't know what the Waukesha State Bank would be charging for that location, but in some places, they would say, let's do a trade. You want a bank downtown, why don't we trade properties? That's just an idea. It might not work.
It's been done.
Okay.
No, just the conversation has been done. I called other board members agreed with it. And I sat down last Friday with the CEO of Waukesha State Bank, had a wonderful meeting, outstanding organization, wonderful people. All of us are just trying to work for you. It's in the works.
Good, very good. That's the kind of open-minded thinking I think everybody's really looking for.
It was just on the last agenda.
So hopefully, let's say you did get an exchange for that, but maybe something snags it, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and where are we gonna go? So there's another angle that, folks have been talking about, and I heard something about Delafield up here that reminded me of it. So along Highway 83, and people can debate along Highway 83, there is a lot of property there. And some of it is passing hands. Not all of it is called for. But some of it is in Delafield. And this gentleman was talking about coordinating with other law enforcement, public safety entities. I would hate to think that you couldn't strike a deal with Delafield for something that was facing Highway 83 to improve a public safety center here in Hartland. Because you all respond together. That most recent call, I don't know how many people you had going out to E in Hartland, but that was a lot of departments. So I really don't think that people should say, oh, that property belongs to Delafield, we can't have it. I don't think that that would be the case. I think you could negotiate something if it was in a public safety center location that benefited everyone. So
Yeah,
if you
The
got a lot of
property you
these-
were talking about was Cassandra's that was brought up, I think you brought it up. That's in the town of Delafield in a very
okay.
far out stretch.
Okay, no.
We were talking about.
But that was what was referenced earlier.
There's other property that might be becoming available, and so I think your community wants to contribute these ideas and making sure that everybody is as open-minded as possible. So that's another thing, maybe as another backup option.
Sure, thank you.
Just an FYI too, we have a border agreement with Delafield and Delafield. We can't take their land, they can't take ours. That was put in place 15 years ago.
Yeah, however long.
That you negotiate.
We
And for
try to
public
negotiate
safety,
with them
well,
often
here's my
as
thing.
well.
You make Delafield say no, you make Delafield say no about public
That's all
safety. I
Delafield
just don't
does
think
say,
that's
so.
really gonna happen.
Look at Lake Country Fire.
Right?
Yeah.
With the expansion of the, let's say, the police department, or eventually the fire department also, is there also consideration for expanding the police department and the fire department in number of people?
So as any community grows, there's always a possibility for expansion. A lot of things go into those formulas for that need. So I wouldn't say that we would never expand again, but I don't see dramatic growth unless all of a sudden this population starts driving up. Right now, like, one way to do this is a rule of thumb. This isn't perfect science, but it's just to get you in a ballpark. For about every 500 people, you think you need another officer. So we're at over 10,000 people. We have 18 Hartland officers serving the Village of Hartland right now. So we're already below that population number. Now again, population doesn't by itself. You gotta take call volume, investigative time. There's a lot of spokes to that. But just to get you in a ballpark rule of thumb, that's about what would get you close in suburban law enforcement in Washoe County. So we've been in discussions with almost every school in this area of the potential adding a school resource officer. Most of that, if not all of it, would be paid for by the school, but would that add officers to the Hartland Police Department? Absolutely. So like those things kind of happen. I wouldn't see the Hartland Police Department doubling in size, barring a municipal agreement where we do joint services with someone in my tenure.
So as
Go
far
ahead,
as the
Chief.
fire department goes, currently we're staffed with 2 full-timers, okay? All of our part-time people don't live here. I have 7 people on the department that live in the village, and it's myself and my wife are 2 of them.
Aren't you all volunteer? Aren't you guys all volunteer?
We don't volunteer. Everybody gets paid. They come down, they get paid. They go to a call, they get paid.
My bad.
Okay? So, back when I started, I've been on this department for 31 years. When I started, there were 47 people on the department. 47 people lived in this village. Nobody wants to volunteer. Nobody wants to do this anymore because it's a huge time commitment away from families and that. So, we pick up a lot of people out of the area, so they all have to come here and stay if they're going to man our station. So, we run 12-hour shifts for them. So they work 6 in the morning till 6 at night, and then another crew comes in 6 at night to 6 in the morning. That pool is dwindling. I lost 7 people last year to Pewaukee when they took over Lisbon. That hurt for a while, because a lot of those people were working the daytime shifts where it's hard to find people because they have full-time jobs. So it's a struggle to keep people in. We have to watch their hours. If they go over 1,200 hours, we have to pay them WRS. If they go over 1,500 hours, then we have to pay them, or we have to supply benefits for them, health benefits.
They don't
So-
hit that one, we don't let them hit that.
No, no.
Promise.
Yes, so it's a struggle. I have a lot of people that, the majority of them can only work at night. Some can work weekends. Weekends is usually pretty decent. I can staff the weekends pretty well. But, daytime hours, it's always hard to keep people in the station because they get limited here, so they're on 2 or 3 other departments. So they have to split their time between all these departments. We did a comprehensive study 2 years ago now.
2 or 3.
And the study said, yeah, at some point you're probably going to end up going full-time because that's just the way the trend is going. Full-time would look like 18 full-time personnel, so it'd be 6 on a shift. So when that happens, I don't know. We're doing all right now. We're answering calls. Last year we lost 52 calls to other departments because we couldn't staff it. This year we've lost 2. So where we had to call in another department because we couldn't staff the second ambulance or something. So we are much better at that now. You know, again, our times are fabulous as far as I'm concerned. As far as the NFPA is concerned, we're way under their allotted time. So we just, it's a possibility down the road that yes, there will be a full-time fire department here in Hartland.
What do you have,
If
7 full-time right now? 7 or 8?
6 that work 24s, and then Cajal and myself and Julie,
So
my administrator.
8 that are truly going out on calls. And when Chief Dean was here, or even Chief Augie before that, we had 1 full-time. So we've grown those based on net new construction, the money we get from new development that's gone into some of our officers, some of our fires. So if fire ever needed more bodies, they would go out for a referendum. But they always have a paramedic on duty, on shift. So you're always getting the best care. That's something that we wanted to do years ago because we used to not be a paramedic. So calls used to happen where we'd have to have somebody intercept and meet the body somewhere and give them stuff that we couldn't do.
Right.
What Ryan's talking about when he says we have a paramedic on staff at all times, there is, correct me, what's the name of below paramedic? What were we?
EMT basic.
We were EMT basic, which means the people that came to your home, if your heart stopped and you needed certain medications, paramedics are allowed to do more, they're able to do more functions than someone that's just EMT basic. Due to legality, if they're on the scene, I'm not saying they would actually do this, but according to the policies, they can't really do it if they need to, and they're not a paramedic, and they have to wait for a paramedic level and watch that person go. I want to also touch on when you hear volunteer fire department, this isn't like it used to be. To become an actual firefighter, and this is getting into, I know the world's legal and it's unfortunate, it just is, I wish it wasn't. To become a firefighter, if I'm not mistaken, you have to go through an immense amount of school even though you have your full-time job. That's not including after you're done with school and there's that huge fire like there was in Hartbrook where you have to go and you're on call and or you're just at that scene to help because everybody's showing up and you call and tell work later, sorry, I was helping out at a fire. It's not like they can just come and sign up. Chief could hire them, but it's not like Chief could just say, hey, they're good. We're good to go. They have to go through a ton of schooling. They've had people that have come to try to sign up to be volunteer firefighters and have had to say, there's just no way I can do that time commitment. I don't know how many classroom hours it is just to be firefighter 1. That's not even getting
Fire
into
1 is a semester with 2 nights a week plus 3 Fridays and then testing.
So, and it's not that people don't have the willingness of wanting to volunteer. Sometimes it's just that they don't have the ability. They have kids, they have other things, and they don't have the time to be able to get to that certification so that they can get out and they can do things. Go ahead.
I just wanted to tell you in the pamphlet that everybody's looking at, all that information is in there.
Wonderful. All the information's in the packet as well.
So essentially, it takes a year for a firefighter EMT to become fully certified. Generally, after they gain their certification, it can take 3 to 6 months for them to be fully trained on our SOPs and being able to respond as what I call solo providers. So being in the back with you or with a patient and then just only, and not have to be pre-sent the whole time. And a lot of that is just to make sure competency is there and that we're protecting obviously the patient and protecting our department as well. So 1 year just for that program. Paramedic to become an ALS provider is 1 year. That is anywhere from 4 to 5 nights a week that they go to school, plus they have to do up to, I think it's 110 clinical hours in the hospital, and then they have to also go on ride-alongs with other agencies or our department to get patient contacts, to be able to complete their training, and then go through the national registry.
So for full disclosure, for full transparency, I just want to say yes, right now, including myself, there is a talk. We're not there yet, but I mean, it was suggested that you need a full-time department to keep on giving people the care that they need. That's not tomorrow, but yes, it is being talked about for full transparency.
Kind of going back to the facility discussion.
Can I just take, she hasn't spoken yet, and I want to take her question.
I am just turning it a little back to the environmental, what did you say, the environmental committee or the environmental?
Comprehensive environmental,
That you'll hire that. Will there be a focus group where people are gonna be able to help choose who that environmental, people will be? Or is it just the board deciding what group they're gonna go with the environmental people?
Last time it was done, there was a whole list. I don't know exactly how many there was that we put on there.
But will there be a focus group for people to have input on who we choose?
Probably not.
Why?
I mean, we can discuss, I don't know if I would have a focus group to focus on the focus group.
I don't know if you guys are talking about the same thing. Are you talking about the comprehensive plan, or are you talking about the environmental study if we were to choose a
Comprehensive plan, I think
site?
there's some disconnect on that. I thought that was like every 5 years versus 10 years. But, we really would like input on who you choose to the environmental piece of it once you get to that. Like,
Example. Are you talking about an environmental study or the comprehensive plan of the village?
the study.
Study.
The environmental study would be done by a professional organization that would do that to tell us.
We'd like to have
I think you
input.
gotta bid that out.
Yeah, that gets bid out to professionals that have, that are certified to do that. We wouldn't leave that just people that just want to volunteer from the village.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying people here would like a focus group to help you decide who you're gonna go with and who you're gonna bid.
You could come to the meeting, you can call me, you could do any of that, but no, I wouldn't put together a task force on these. You got a task force right here and they've all been elected by their peers here in the village. But no, I mean, I'm not sure why we would do that. Usually it's a bid process. Everybody's certified to do it and then it comes down to the bid because there's a cost associated with it.
I just wanted to ask before, Chief was talking about, first, we all agree that the fire department's going. What are the facility improvements or changes that you're planning, for 10 or 20 years down the road? There's gonna be more permanent full-time fire staff, right?
So more sleeping area, separating right now, it would be like the south side of the building by the parking lot. So that's our administrative office up front, our gear room, and then our dorms. And those are all served by the same furnace, which takes the air from so it's bad, especially after a fire. I have one gear washer, so I can run one set of clothing through. We were just over at Lake Country with them, the lightning strike yesterday. I had 6 pair of gear sitting in the bay waiting for that washer to get done, and then we gotta go dry them. So they either sit in the bay or they sit in the racks, and that just gets blown into the dorms where they're sleeping or into my administrator's office. So dorms, more dorms. So that would be looking ahead to the full-time development part. Plus, I would be able to staff more people than even part-time, with the dorms.
We also looked at renovating fire, and essentially Devin and his group said, you're knocking everything down to the studs. At that point, a new building makes sense to get you the next 100 years. Because at this point, once we touch it, we have electrical, we have HVAC, we have everything from 1970 in there.
Or
It's
60.
gonna, I think you
Doesn't
said
need
it
to
costs
call.
$1 million more, maybe, to do a new build versus a full remodel.
Yes.
And you're getting right size.
So it doesn't meet the code for today's standards because if anything happens, as we just saw with that major flooding, no matter what happens, we want to make sure that building is standing and that they are able to do their jobs because they're the people that are going to be going into the basements or going wherever to go and get people. All weekend long, fire department was involved in doing things to make sure that people were, including helping them bail water, depending on what they run into. So, so was PD and so was DPW. DPW worked for 20 hours straight without taking a break to make sure that all of Bristol Cone Pine didn't have backed up basements because of the amount of water that was coming through.
So did they have water in the facility with this rain?
Fire? No.
Okay.
So
Just from our leaky roof. Which we found out when the air conditioner went down.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility to just take it down to the studs and start over, or no?
It's a possibility. Sure. Yeah, that's one of the things that Ryan was saying that we considered.
You literally have to tear, and that's what we talked about, you're tearing everything down to the studs and you're replacing everything.
You're saving, I don't know what it was, but I believe it was a small cost savings because it had to be ripped all the way down where it was like, or you can just take those studs down too. I mean, you're going down to the footings, just rip that out and just build the building the way you want it and the way you need it. Right now, and Chief didn't go so far, he's being a true fire chief. When he's talking about these things that get washed and these suits that are sitting there, obviously everybody knows now this leads to everything being different than it was that we hear about in the 70s and even the 80s. They thought you go into a fire, the suits get dirty, they just stink like smoke, it's not a big deal. Well, now they know that the stuff on those suits, because all the plastic that's burning and everything else is on those suits, and when you got them, you got air blowing around as those suits are there, it's blowing carcinogens around that can cause cancer. The NFPA and many other organizations say that that's not a really, really good idea. It's kind of the same as if we just said let asbestos blow around. Right now, due to space, that's what they're doing.
find out what decisions have been made, so we don't have to have meetings like this all the time?
Well, I strongly encourage you to keep an eye on the village board agendas. I want to stress this to everyone, and you are right. You elect officials so you don't have to come to every meeting. If you're going to come to every meeting, then what is the need of me, right? But I can't stress enough, pay attention to the meetings. No one's hiding anything. Every single one of these was on an agenda. It may have said special meeting, and the special meeting, when we have it, just means it's not at its regularly scheduled time to keep with the law. 2 times a month, we have to have a meeting. In fact, I think our ordinance might say only once. But every second and fourth Monday of the month, we have the village board meeting. You can go onto the website while you're here tonight. There are people that will help you if you want, that will set up your cell phone. You can set it up through email or cell phone or both, where you can get every single agenda, so you can take a quick look at it and you'll see that it's dealing with that building.
So if I just look up the village, so I should get.
If you wanted to go on the village website, you go to village, click government, click agendas and minutes, I think, click that, and then that will take you, and then you'll scroll down and that will be the most recent agenda.
If you go to our website homepage, right in the middle of the page, sign up for notifications, and you can select any body that meets. I would suggest your village board and plan commission. Those are the most popular ones. And you sign up for a notification, you get a text or email. The second I publish it, you will get it sent to you. So you can open it up, see if there's anything of interest, to know if you need to reach out or attend.
Even if it's to call and get further clarification on what that item refers to.
If you need help, please.
I will admit, sometimes it comes off as bland on there, but if you see something you think is something, give a call to the village and say, hey, explain this item to me, what's going on?
Can I chime in?
Oh, sir?
You have no better timeline other than saying we want to put a shovel in the ground in the next year. But we have no better timeline of figuring out when is this decision going to be made? How is the decision going to be made? What we're saying is you got to watch the agenda, and maybe under there as fire, and we don't know what that means, what you're saying.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Because there has to be a timeline for the project. Any project has this is what we're doing. And you're saying there's not, but we want to put a shovel in the ground in a year to start the process. So there has to be some sort of timeline of, we're going to make a decision by this date, because we have to move forward with something. We all are in agreement that the fire station and the police need a new spot. So what does that look like? And as a community, how can we be proactive in that? Instead of saying, well, Hartbrook Park isn't final, now it might be the bowling alley or whatever. But how do we know about that before it gets to that point of, hey, Hartbrook Park is going to be the spot, which is how it came out.
Sure.
When it was all announced. You look at the signs, Hartbrook Park, that's what people are seeing. They're not seeing that it's not decided, because that's not how it's being presented. That's not how the architect had presented it. He got extremely offended when people brought up, didn't think he didn't do his job, which isn't fair to us, because we haven't been part of that process.
Sure.
He took seconds to go through why this wouldn't work. Zion Church, okay, looked at that, didn't work.
Zion Church would work.
I know.
We just couldn't buy it.
But I'm saying, the explanation was super quick, and that's why I thought the purpose of this meeting was to talk about the deficiencies of these other locations. And that's what we haven't gotten. And then you say we don't have a timeline to get to how to know when we need to care.
I think you should care right now. I think you should always care, not just about this issue, about all of them. It's your community.
Do you have a date you're gonna make the decisions?
The best date that I have for you is the resolution of necessity is going to be on the next village board meeting. So next Wednesday, the agenda is going to come out. You'll be able to read the resolution of necessity. The resolution of necessity will be voted on by the village board. The village board voted to have drafted the resolution of necessity. At the next village board meeting, which is the 25th? The 25th of August, we're going to vote on the resolution of necessity. Once we vote on the resolution of necessity, if it passes, at that point, that's going to initiate that we would have an appraisal done on the land at the bowling alley. Unfortunately, we just won't go in blind. We will always make sure, because you deserve those answers of this land is worth this. Why did dumb Jeff pay $3 million and it's only worth $1 million? Now that would get dumb. But, so we'll have an appraisal done. Once an appraisal is done and we know how much the land is worth, obviously, now because that gets into negotiations, this may upset you guys, but the law leaves certain room for certain situations, that we just get together as a board and we discuss things. That's when we have a closed session meeting. If we're negotiating land, we absolutely would do that in closed session. Otherwise, it's kind of like you're negotiating to buy a house and you got someone sitting in with the buyers. It just doesn't work too good if you're trying to sell the house, or vice versa. But that's what would happen with that. So I can't give you exact answers because of the nature of this. I think that there's going to be a decision made at the next village board meeting. But if the board feels that it needs more information, I'm not going to take away their right and say you have to answer right now. They might say we need information from this lawyer and we want this information about that site, and they might push it off to the next meeting after that. I don't foresee that happening, but for me to give you definitive black and white when there's no definitive black and white is very difficult. I have a feeling things would move very quickly if the resolution of necessity goes through, based on the fact that Waukesha State Bank came to our meeting and said they are willing to work with us. I think things would move pretty quick, and I think that next spring you'll see shovels going in the ground somewhere, but I don't know that for sure because we could be.
Can I chime in? I'll chime in. So, for this meeting, right, if we're going to get into the deficiencies, it's hard from my perspective to know what to cover, right? Like I started the meeting out, this could be a 6-hour meeting. That doesn't make sense. What makes the most sense is to answer the questions and dive in. It's very erratic. You get questions from all different angles. However, educating and listening and answering the questions is the priority. So we can get into deficiencies. And to piggyback on some of the conversations, all of these meetings I've been to are public meetings. So this has been a conversation that is hearsay, that's in the past. But all of this has gone into it. There's always willingness to get into the fine details. However, everyone took time out of their evening away from their family to get answers to their questions. From a timeline perspective, we're in August. Realistically, we're not going to see a lot of momentum probably till early October. I would say hopefully by then we're a little further along. But again, I mean, if all of a sudden the rug gets pulled under us, again, we've designed almost 20 different sites. So it's the chicken or the egg. We got to keep working on this and get progress. However, we're not just going to blindly pick something and run with it. If all of a sudden this doesn't work, we got to continue to evaluate. I mean, we've evaluated for the past 6 months of we think we got a great solution, and then we crumble it up, throw it out, and start again. And that's okay. But to your point, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to say there's a line in the sand, we got to make a frickin' decision because we're going to stick it. The purpose of this is not to build a building just to build a building. It's to build the right solution.
And I also just want to bounce off of that.
Thank you.
We will probably do those discussions in a special meeting, not in a normal village meeting, because those meetings will probably be 2-hour meetings. So we take a poll in a regular meeting and find a date, and that date will be a Wednesday. Something like this is a special meeting where we'll have it, and it'll be the board up there talking about here's the inside of the building, here's the layout, those next steps.
And that
then
special meeting is it closed or open?
It's open. And then you
This
ask
is
about
technically a
how
special
you handle
meeting.
the deficiencies. I really want to get you guys some tours before the signs in the.
I'm not talking about deficiencies in the departments. I think we're all in agreement. And I think we have to go back.
I think you're referring to deficiencies in the sites.
Other sites.
And I just want, I know I talk too much, but to answer your questions, like you want to talk about deficiencies, that could be 6 hours. And I'm going to tell you why, just in this meeting. And I just want you to know what we're trying to juggle, and I say this for all the members of the board. Just in this meeting, there's some people that are like, we can't lose a baseball field. That's very important to them. And the same meeting, we have people saying, you can't move that baseball field. I'm going to have people park in front of my house. That there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying you can, every time it's like checkers that never ends, because we move, and then let's take the Pembroke Park site. We put it over at Pembroke Park, and I could be wrong, but I'm guessing you just change everybody that's in the seats. Because it's going to be the people up there. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
It's not a green space now, so that's a difference.
Pembroke Park's a green space.
I'm not talking about the park, I'm talking the wood.
Oh, yeah, but I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm simply saying we're trying to do the best that we can to be your representatives is all I'm trying to get across. Go ahead.
To alleviate this, could we get, because I'm new here, this is really the first I've heard of it, to alleviate it, and I don't think people want the 6-hour speech. They want the high level. I want the high level. I would like to see the top 8 places that you looked at
and a bullet pointed list of pros and cons, including cost, size, whatever. And it may be something like, I don't want people parking on my street. That's what I would like to see. Put it on the website. Hopefully before next week, people can take a look and go, okay, they looked at Zion, they looked at Pembroke, they looked at this. This is good stuff, this is what seems to be the top, the pros and cons. People can come then and they can feel like, number one, you're gonna have a lot of your questions already answered, so it'll be a more efficient meeting. And two, the word gets out.
And those are the top four right there.
But I'm saying, people don't know that. You need to publish that on social media.
I published along the way. I contacted the Waukesha Freeman at the last meeting. This is what I mean by, all I can say is that we're trying. I know other members that are on the board have, well, no, and I did, and one of the responses was, I don't look at that and I don't go on Facebook. I put it on 411. I called the Freeman. We contacted the Freeman, not just me. I mean, the board agreed. We talk about, I just want to let you know we're trying as hard as we can. We really are. But each time we try, all we can do is try. Like tonight, we had stuff on the wall. We were trying to get all the questions answered, but now you're saying, no, just give us the 8 sites. Some of those we might not even vote on.
I'm not saying just that. I'm saying it's another avenue to
Sure.
try and expand the knowledge
Sure.
among more people in Hartland.
Sure.
And some of those 8 sites were just deal breakers, not big enough,
And
not
maybe
for
that's it.
sale. The church didn't wanna end up moving,
but then-
like things like that. can't
Yep.
happen.
Yep, go ahead.
One more question.
I'll get to you right next.
If you build new, these sites obviously still have some value. So you sell these sites for whatever you decide to do with them. Does that money go to pay down the new sites, or does it go in the general fund?
This becomes a tax levy property.
The money would go into the, I believe it would go into the general fund, and then it could be voted on for it to go towards.
We sold it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would just reduce that by whatever.
Yep.
Yes, reduce the debt, yes, do that.
Yep. That's what would happen.
Reduce the debt on the new buildings.
And those are some of those pros and cons of, do you just keep this building and maintain it when it's sitting half empty, or do you get a prime downtown location back on the tax levy? Those are all options. Who knows what's gonna happen?
Sir?
It would appear that the bowling alley site would be the ideal site. But the city or the village is reluctant, or it's a second choice because they don't own the property.
Can you expand on
I
that?
wouldn't say that it's a second choice. I can't, I got to be very careful because I didn't push very
You
hard.
want me to
because-
jump in?
What?
You want me to jump in?
If you'd like, I was just gonna. I wanted to tell them
Okay.
about how I feel about eminent domain and why I didn't let it. I'd like you to keep your money in your pocket. I really, really hesitate to go and strong arm and use the government to do that. And there's something, huh?
But they're interested now.
No, they're interested now. I'm talking about why it wasn't, and that's what I'm trying to, the process is working. Yes, right now I would say it's the first choice, actually.
And that was my point, is why not spend the money, I mean, why are you reluctant to spend the money when it's gonna be handed back?
We're not reluctant to spend the money. We just spent the money to have the resolution of necessity legally drafted, which is step 1 to moving forward with that.
We can't physically go by people's property.
Because we have the authority to be able to take it by eminent domain, there's different steps we have to follow, because you're walking up to someone and you're either taking it by eminent domain, but trying to negotiate under that umbrella is very difficult, because I'm sitting across the table saying, I'm gonna take it anyway. It gets really touchy.
You can tell me you'll sell your house to us, and then we can buy it.
Go ahead.
Or we eminent domain, those are our 2 options. Waukesha State Bank could say, hey, we want $4 million. Jeff's gonna tell you, he wants to get an appraisal, go through it.
And give the price that's proper for utilizing because I pay taxes too, but so do all of the board members when people are saying this also. I don't want people to forget that those board members work really hard on this also. Sir?
I think we've kind of like focused on the police station quite a bit, but if we do the fire department, we've kind of like landed on it staying where it is. What happens during construction? Like, where's your temporary facility?
It's a great question.
Oh, okay. I mean, that like, what's the goal, turn that around?
We've got a couple of options that we're talking to some places about putting temporary structures up. But until we get word that we're actually doing this, we've got prices for different structures. We've got a couple of different facilities we're looking at that might be able to put a truck or 2 in that we can keep there. We're still very early in that. We're not pushing that too hard. until we know for sure what's going on, so.
You know, that's a great question. Not only that, that's tough to live through, but even on the remodel side, a lot of times people don't think of, when you try to live through a remodel, we still have to operate it. Now that construction takes twice as long, which really inflates the cost of that project.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My name's Tom Rudke, I live at 311 North Avenue. We've all we've been talking about here, kind of got off topic, was the admin and police being married, moving, and the fire department expanding. Has any thought been put into, we have 3 different entities, okay? We're moving 2 of our chess pieces and the other one stays. Has any thought been put into combining any of the other 2 different ways you could do it? Police and fire together, admin in another spot, okay? Fire and admin in one spot, police as a standalone.
Yeah.
Have we even considered any of that?
Yes, we considered all of it together. We considered police and fire being together over on Lawn Street there at the fire department.
Yeah, that one I saw, that was putting everything next to the school.
So this would be in water currently.
What about police and fire, public safety building? Would, just potentially, would all that fit on the Waukesha State Bank site?
Potentially.
Yes.
It may be.
Take your police and fire and put them all on Waukesha State Bank. Now you still have 2 buildings. You have this one and you have the fire department. Could the fire department be a better admin building? Then you could still sell this as downtown development and take this, use this money to pay off some of those costs. There you got police and fire in a public safety building. Your admin is separate. It's not connected to police anymore. And that might be a little bit of difficulty, but it shouldn't be that bad in today's day and age.
No, we got plans with public safety buildings, so we can figure that out, that part.
So to me, this is like getting out of the box, that we're painting. You really got to consider all these different options. And one of the big advantages, I guess, having the public safety building together is one thing that hasn't been even mentioned. I mentioned it at our last meeting. Is right now, probably 90% of your calls, Dave, go across the Lawn Street Bridge.
Yeah.
How old is that Lawn Street Bridge? I walk across it just about every day and go, oh, it's sinking a little bit more there, it's sinking a little bit more there.
It's inspected every year.
Yeah, and when that thing goes down, you're gonna have to rebuild it, and your calls are gonna have to go somewhere else. You're gonna have to go out for while that construction is going on. All right, so that's a drawback that you wouldn't have if you were connected up at State Bank.
Sure. We had not considered that combination, but it doesn't mean that we can't look into it.
And I guess I completely took the park out of the equation because of the other thing that I mentioned at the last meeting was when the apartments were put in next to down the street from the current fire department, part of that had to be the parking garage, because of the floodplain thing, they had to go up, couldn't have it all, the first floor had to be empty. And the same thing when Emanuele built their accounting building downtown Hartland, the first floor had to stay empty. So if you're gonna build a 36,000 square foot building in Hartford Park, it would be a 72,000 square foot building because the bottom would have to be empty.
I would leave that up to Devin.
The Emanuele building that had nothing to do with the river or anything where it is.
I know it would never get there, but
they chose to do that to hide their parking because there is no parking in that area. That's a parking structure for them, the first level.
It's empty.
It's a parking structure.
Nobody uses it.
Well, they surprisingly do have vehicles in there all the time, so.
Never seen them.
Anything else that you wanted to add, Tom?
But that was my thing. About
We did not look at that combination, but that doesn't mean it
brand
can't be
different
looked at.
combination.
Sure.
I have a combination of tearing this down and building a fire department here.
Chief?
That way you keep your fire building intact while you're building this with a new fire station.
I think we can dig into it. So a lot of times one of the biggest challenges with fire departments is the drive-through apparatus. So you end up with very large parking lots.
There's a parking lot back here, so I thought this whole area would be all open.
Agreed. Elevation challenge on this. Yes, we can dig into it some more, but my initial, I just want a knee-jerk reaction. This would be very, very challenging because of that complexity of trying to get apparatus all the way through.
All that parking is used.
I like the idea,
It's not
though.
only full when you came in, it's full all day because of the library, and the library is a very important institution in this village.
I see all that parking going over by Ray Drive where I live, and I'm not seeing where you're gonna have.
Wait,
I don't know how much.
the library?
No, parking out here for the administration building.
That's mostly for the library,
Okay.
or for, yeah, some of it's here.
Is there traffic that comes into this administration building?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Daily? Is
yeah,
it a lot
every
of
day.
cars? What are we talking?
Well, but you're also talking about the library across the way.
I'm talking about the I'm trying to get the administration building, or one of the buildings, away from the bowling alley area. To release some.
I don't know exactly how much we have parking all the time.
So I'll just chime in here. So in order to get this plan, one of the drafters had to stay late so that we came to this meeting. We wanted to come to this meeting with something, right? This decision was sprung on us. We had no time to react. People were staying late, trying to cancel meetings to make sure, we had something, right? We did not evaluate numerous options yet. We haven't thought and evaluated everything. This site came to us. I think these are some good ideas, and I think it gives us some time and opportunity to dig further into it. I'm not going to say this is the only or right solution yet, but it does fit, and I think moving this direction seems to be consensus, and if we can make something better work, I'm all on board. But it's going to take a little bit of time for the architect and our team to dig into this.
Would it be easier to split it up on building stuff here?
One of the unique things when you can combine, you get a lot of shared spaces, shared bathrooms, shared big meeting rooms like this. So there's some shared utility rooms, shared multiple things. You get shared parking lot. So you have some shared functions that you get some cost savings long term. But it's neither good nor bad at this point. We got to keep digging in to get the right solution.
I want to touch on one thing, if you could, Devin, for the public, because you guys, and you've kind of expressed there, a lot of you weren't at the meetings and didn't know, because I know you see this overlay, and I just want to make sure it is known, because I start to think that people are thinking big offices and way more space and that kind of thing. Can you guys just touch on, even with police, how much of that is garage and evidence space as opposed to work where you're doing your day-to-day?
Yeah, so on the tour, one of my highlights was going to be, for anyone that's still interested to do that, one of our biggest pain points for us, and you could probably pull any police department, and this probably comes up 9 times out of 10 when any police department either remodels or relocates, evidence rooms get tight fast. So our evidence room that we keep all evidence for every single case that we work on, whether it's municipal, criminal, whatever the investigation is, it's a 10 by 18-foot room. And as the Wisconsin Department of Justice puts requirements on us, so for an example, if we take a sexual assault kit, there's requirements now for us to keep that stuff for 50 years. So as they keep those retention periods longer, I can't get rid of stuff as quickly as I once did to continue that room and putting new stuff in. So we got to like a point of, we were getting pretty nervous. Now we've gotten rid of some stuff and we've freed up some space. So critical level, I'm not gonna say that, but we were close. And then Jeff brought the investigation up for the Mansfield incident that we were responding to, that was that apartment fire that ended up being a homicide-suicide situation. But let's say that was just a homicide, not a homicide-suicide. I'd have to keep all that evidence. That one case, would almost fill that entire room. Probably actually would fill that entire room.
And sorry for interrupting,
One
Chief,
case.
but that, all of that stuff, we don't have a choice on that. That comes from the state down. So like and I know sometimes, and that's why I wanted to touch on it, I know you guys think sometimes, oh, they're doing that. There's certain things that are put on us that we have, Chief has no choice. If 3 people are killed by cars and they might appeal their hearing or their ruling someday in court, he's got 3 cars that he's got to hold. Now, we would figure something out with that. We're not building for that, but it's still our responsibility. And guess what? If something goes missing, who does it fall on? All of us. When they sue, we pay.
So that's always the biggest pinch point for police departments, so that would be a big expansion area for us. I know someone brought up offices earlier. My office actually gets smaller for anyone that was wondering, and I'm totally fine with that. But our other area is garage space, so we did some kind of hodgepodge additions on the south side of the building here. We can house, we have 9 fleet cars right now total out of all our fleet. We can house 5 in a garage, so that means we either got some cars off-site or parked outside here on the hill. Now in the summer, that's typically not a big deal, but in winter, for example, I park outside. If I have to go respond to a call for service and it's winter and it's been snowing, you have to wait until I can brush my windshield off and get my windows scraped and then I can see where I'm going type thing. So that does tend to delay some responses. We also are very fiscally conservative, and we try to get the most amount of time out of that car as we possibly can, and obviously being outside doesn't lend well for that for us as well. So if we can take care of those cars, have them parked inside, obviously the priority is responding to calls for service. There's a picture over here of one of my detective's offices. It's actually a closet that we just took the supplies out of and then kind of jammed his desk in there, and that was going to be one of the areas I'd show you. I could stand in there and you guys could kind of look at me from afar, and that would be about all that would fit in there. So we have him working very important cases all the time, and we got really no room to do a whole lot of that. A lot of inefficiency layout. We have interview rooms right next to our detectives' offices. There's actually a doorway that we kind of temporarily secured and blocked. So if we are interviewing a suspect on something and they say something like, oh, hold on, that wasn't what was in the police report, or we go out and we start chatting about it, they hear every word we're saying. And I don't know about you, that's not in our best interest. We want to try to not have that happen. So just layout is just not the greatest. The lab, so our evidence lab where we process the evidence, is all the way on the other side of the police department. Again, very inefficient, and it's the size of a closet. So if we make a small arrest where like, hey, I got some drugs and I just got to package that and get that into evidence, not a big deal. But if we have a lot of evidence, or we do a search warrant, which we bring a lot of stuff back to the police department, I can maybe fit 2 people in there and we can't efficiently process. The other big thing that we have issues on the evidence lab side is, think of the unknown powders that we deal with. We see that a lot. We have no idea what it is. If I'm holding someone on what I believe that they were in possession of fentanyl, heroin, whatever that mixture may or may not be, I have to have a presumptive test to take them to jail and hold them for court. I can't just say that's some powder in my training, I think it's fentanyl. I gotta actually now test it. So now I expose my officers to that unknown material, and I have nowhere to put any type of safety hood or fuming hood or exhaust hood for them to properly test that. Without potentially getting impacted by it. So a lot of things is that we can't, as time has developed and crime has evolved, we can't really evolve well with it because of those space constraints is the biggest one, but then even layout is another one.
There was one over here.
Super interesting on the evidence, problem there. How do other municipalities around here solve for that? I mean, I'm sure, obviously Waukesha has, more crime. Yeah, what do they do?
Waukesha just did a remodel of their police department, and by the way, their remodel would be more money than our village hall / police department, and it was all over an evidence room.
Really? And how about smaller places like, I don't know, Delafield or Pewaukee or something?
You gotta try to keep this pulling out and hope that you don't get some evidence that you can't get rid of before you get new evidence.
So when we look at police departments, that's usually the main driver of, oh no, we have no room, or or they'll kind of hodgepodge all the rooms, and technically it's not right, but they do their best they can until they can finally get the ball rolling on a building.
So we actually bought a plastic storage shed and put it off to one of our garages and have a double lock system on there, so we know no one can get in there, because when we start getting to critical level, that was like my overflow, where I was pushing to that. And what we really use that for, as you guys probably have seen or maybe even used, is we have those drug drop boxes in both lobbies. I gotta secure that as well under certain criteria. So that's where we were gonna then, hey, if we need to, we can push those sealed boxes, secure them in that, and then free up a shelf or two for critical case evidence.
For time's sake, and because I know a lot of you may have planned based on the exact scheduled time, is there anyone here, and I'm not stopping it, I can talk as long as you can sit and listen. Is anybody here wanting to get up to PD for a tour? If I could just see hands. Is anybody here wanting to see fire department? It doesn't have to be right now. I'm just saying we can be cognizant of that so that we can,
I think you had some hands.
Yeah, I think there was. So,
Okay,
and it doesn't have to be now. I'm just saying kind of what? Oh, does anybody here want to tour admin?
Because it is getting late.
I was just saying if anybody's in a rush, but I'm more than happy to continue to answer questions and stuff.
Gather up and we can do a tour.
If anybody has any other questions, you can ask. I just wanted to make sure they could get a tour. I had
I got a question. I know this has been finalized.